Good morning from the Freedom of Information and Privacy Association. I'm Patrick Farnsworth, and this is your Access and Privacy Online news summary for Saturday, August 9th. Even with a light news week, as Canadians get back from the August long weekend, there are privacy and access stories of note. The Federal Privacy Commissioner is now investigating the WestJet cybersecurity breach. Access to government documents continue to fuel headlines and provide new insights, including a broken promise from Ontario's premier. And in our international segment, we see Trump continuing to seek retribution through his Justice Department over the 2020 election. And a new UN report documents the plight of women and girls in Taliban-ruled Afghanistan. Let's dive in. We begin with the Privacy Commissioner launching an investigation into WestJet following a serious cybersecurity breach. The breach involved a third-party system that exposed some personal and travel data. While WestJet says no passengers' credit card numbers, debit card numbers, or guest user passwords were stolen, the Office of the Privacy Commissioner is stepping in to assess the incident and whether the airline fulfilled its legal obligations under federal privacy law. WestJet said it had identified and would contact people who were affected by the breach. Meanwhile, from Sandy Krasowski, LJI reporter from the Chronicle Journal, federal funding is being directed toward a new technology lift for small businesses in northern Manitoba. Grants are helping for-profit private sector businesses embrace cloud-based tools and inventory management software. The Northern Technology Accelerator Program is a non-repayable grant program that will cover up to 50% of eligible technology costs to a maximum of $10,000. Eligible projects include website development, software development, and/or software integration, hardware integration, cybersecurity, and internal broadband networking. While it's good news for digital access and productivity, privacy advocates will be watching closely to see whether increased data use also brings stronger data protection. Over in Saskatchewan, Carol Baldwin, LJI reporter at the Waka Recorder, reports that the province continues to rank highest on Canada's Crime Severity Index. Statistics have also previously shown that Saskatchewan leads all provinces in intimate partner violence. Despite this, data does indicate some progress, as the crime rate in Saskatchewan decreased in 2024. These designations raise important questions about the growing role breaches of privacy play in intimate partner violence, as well as public safety. Access and transparency will be key to analysis and understanding of how these dynamics intersect and create impact. And finally, Daryl Greer, LJI reporter at Kivalliq News, brings us a report from Arviat Mayor Joe Savikatak Jr. warning residents about social media scammers trying to take your personal information and impersonating local officials. Savikatak Jr. posted a public advisory warning the public to be cautious of people texting, calling, or emailing you to get your personal information. The mayor indicates scammers have recently been aided by the onset of artificial intelligence, which often makes it nearly impossible to tell if their pitch is fake or real. It's a stark reminder to stay cautious online and verify sources, even if the profile picture looks familiar. Turning to stories driven by access to information. Federal records show that the Canadian Department of Fisheries and Oceans offered a letter of support to the company behind the doomed Titan submersible 2 years before the incident. The documents reveal the department planned to work with OceanGate to assess the potential of its submersibles for scientific research. The letter goes on to say their equipment could offer Canadian scientists a unique opportunity to explore deep-water ecosystems, something that wasn't possible with existing Canadian technology. The letter also says the department could contribute funds for future expeditions. Besides the letter of support, the Coast Guard's investigation found no evidence of any actual collaboration or funding. The Titan's catastrophic implosion killed all 5 people on board, and the revelations raise serious concerns about risk oversight and the transparency of public-private partnerships. In Montreal, rat complaints have surged 45% over the past year, and critics are calling for urgent city action. This increase is 2 years after a pledge by City Council to come up with a plan to control the rodents. Data obtained through an access to information request showed a 700% increase in calls to Montreal's 311 phone line in 2024 concerning rats, up from just over 1,000 calls 2 years earlier. City data shows a dramatic increase in infestation reports and frustrations from residents about the lack of response. One resident even started a petition about rodents to no avail. With pest problems increasingly tied to public health, this is another reminder of how transparency and service delivery affects real lives. And in Ontario, Premier Doug Ford's government has yet to begin a promised feasibility study for a proposed tunnel under Highway 401. The province issued a request for proposals for the study in the spring and has not yet selected a proponent. Ford has previously said a feasibility study will determine the length of the tunnel. Global News and CBC reported that documents obtained under Freedom of Information requests show the government was looking at the idea as far back as 2019, but shelved it in 2021. And an analysis of the idea mentioned a risk of roadway collapse. For residents in Scarborough and Pickering, the delay is more than an infrastructure issue. It's about accountability and government follow-through. Next, from Ed Smith, LGI reporter at The Pointer, reports from Niagara Falls. Residents say they're being deterred from filing complaints against elected officials due to a lack of protections. Reporting by The Pointer reveals that citizens fear retribution when speaking out against Mayor Jim Diodati and Councillor Mike Strange. Diodati called police on a group of peaceful protesters who were protesting city officials barring women's rights advocates from appearing before council. 2 of the women arrested that night in June are blocked from filing complaints against Mayor Diodati due to procedural barriers in Niagara Falls. It's a stark example of why strong whistleblower protections at the local level are essential for democratic accountability. Meanwhile, George Lee, LGI reporter at the McLeod Gazette, brings us a report from the recent Alberta by-election as social media continues to shape political discourse, for better and worse. A recent report shows Canadian politicians are increasingly embracing online platforms, even as they wade into disinformation, trolling, and partisan spin. It's also important to consider that politicians can choose to remove comments or block accounts online if they so choose. While direct digital engagement can empower voters and politicians, it also creates new challenges for transparency, oversight, online abuse, and accountability. And finally, Michelle Konski, LJ reporter at the Canadian Jewish News, brings a report about whistleblower protections in Ontario. Holocaust educators are raising alarms about rising anti-Semitism in Ontario schools, especially as the province moves to take over the Peel District School Board. The move is drawing criticism from advocacy groups who fear that top-down control could undermine human rights education and silence those trying to speak out against hate. A federal report by Canadian sociologist Robert Brim found that more than 40% of anti-Semitic incidents in Ontario schools involved Nazi symbols or Holocaust denial, completely disconnected from geopolitical tensions. Brim also emphasized the need for whistleblower protections when he reported that teachers and administrators are fearing backlash for reporting anti-Semitic behavior. In New York, new records reveal a mass shooter blamed the NFL for hiding the dangers of sports-related brain injuries. Shane Tamura carried a handwritten note in his wallet when he carried out the shooting, claiming he had chronic traumatic encephalopathy, known as CTE. CTE is linked to concussions and is only diagnosable after death. The note asked people to study his brain. Tamura's mother said he had suffered multiple concussions while playing football. The case raises ongoing questions about how health data, corporate transparency, and public safety intersect, especially in high-profile tragedies. South of the border, Trump's Justice Department has issued sweeping demands for voter and election data from at least 19 states. The requests are part of a broader pattern of retribution and election denial that threatens both privacy and democratic norms. In Colorado, the department demanded all records relating to the 2024 election and any records the state retained from the 2020 election. Legal experts warn this could set a dangerous precedent for how federal powers are used to target political opponents. The unusually expansive outreach has raised alarm among some election officials because states have the constitutional authority to run elections, and federal law protects the sharing of individual data with the government. And in Afghanistan, a new UN report details how the Taliban are using the legal system to suppress women and girls. Courts have become tools of state oppression, enforcing gender-based segregation and punishing women for attempting to access education, work, or basic freedoms. After seizing power in 2021, the Taliban suspended the 2004 constitution and laws protecting the rights of women and girls that criminalized 22 forms of violence against women. The report also said the Taliban have assumed full control over law enforcement and investigative agencies, systematically purging Afghans who worked for the previous government. The report underscores the importance of international access to information. Without it, these abuses remain hidden. As always, we hope you found today's stories help you stay informed about some of the latest issues surrounding privacy, information management, and public transparency. To help us keep the mics on, be sure to subscribe to FIPA News Monitoring or consider a donation. Our writer is Sean Fisk. Original music in today's show was composed by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. I'm Patrick Farnsworth, your host and producer. Thank you for joining. A big FIPA thank you to all the contributors, reporters, and outlets that make this podcast possible, and to you, our listeners, who help make this a success. Stay safe and stay informed.